We start with a beat copper called Officer John Brown, heroically saving the lives of a bunch of kiddies and also a small dog, and thereby winning the heart of the local ginger. But unfortunately, turns out it was just a tragic sex dream, and he was just snogging the face off of his own pet beagle, because comedy, bro. Anyway, after getting mocked by his niece for being such a loser that he keeps failing the policeman's exam, and also for the closest he can get to pussy being his own freaking pooch, he heads off to work doing security at a local robotics lab, where that hot toddy redhead, what he was dreaming about earlier, called Brenda, struggles to get her breakthrough invention off the ground, which involves mentally linking people's thoughts to lifelike robotic limbs as part of something called the Gadget program. Or some shit. Until her dad suddenly succeeds at telepathically moving the techno-trotter by just thinking of his dead wife and tapping his foot, as Brenda soon realises it's not activated by simple thoughts but instead by will. And before he can say, "Who the fuck's will and why can't I activate it myself already?" this incel loser, who loves a bit of bestiality, tries to strike up a convo with his crush by stalking her beside her own car and saying he just wants to be a hero and do a bunch of good things. When suddenly, a bunch of baddies turn up to do a bunch of bad things. And much like what happened with my backseat driver of a wife last week, the truck driver gets distracted by an interfering pussy and promptly crashes his motor into a friggin' wall.
Bruh.
And before you know it, the lab is looted and the prosthetic foot totally nicked, and I presume by some sort of freaky fetish freak. This do-gooding tool then runs off to be a hero, and likely get himself as deaded as Brenda's dad now is. Cause he needs to totally seek redemption, given he had one job as a security guard yet managed to secure the square root of diddly and squat. As his elderly colleague soon warns him,
"This isn't going to end well."
He then promptly gives chase, but soon ends up upside down on his head because reasons. And turns out his pensioner partner was totally right about things clearly not going to be ending well for this total plonker, as the dastardly Sanford Skolex then blows him to Kingdom Come. And it looks like it's curtains for this utter numpty what tried to save his crush but just ended up getting third-degree burns, her dad killed, and a high-tech prototype stolen.
You suck.
Though the baddie soon gets some hilarious instant karma when his hand is totally crushed by a giant blue bowling ball. And I can totally relate. For as a solid-looking 6 with a love life drier than Elliot Rodgers, I too know the aching pain of big blue balls. The next day, his niece Penny comes to see her useless uncle, who seems to have survived a giant fuck-off car explosion, also because reasons, and soon reunites him with his beagle girlfriend for some more sloppy kisses and shit. Kinky! Anyway, the town mayor, aka Gal Hellstorm from the OG Scary Movie film, wants Brenda to finish her dead dad's gadget program ASA fucking B. Cause the cops cost the city budget too much dosh, bro, and she wants to make them all obsolete already. So also advises that she just use that useless sap which just came in as the first test subject, given he's always wanted to be a cop and whose body is now more wrecked than that human Ken doll fella. So naturally, Brenda has a nearby surgical team fill his entire body with the contents of whatever's laying about, and without even asking him to sign a bleeding consent form. Liberties! Elsewhere, Sanford Skolex has gone and got a sweet upgrade himself, as his minions have now replaced his gammy hand with a giant fuck-off claw, and also changed his name to Claw because reasons. Meanwhile, John wakes up and just can't believe his body's been mutilated by a transhumanist maniac, and now has toothbrushes and cigarette lighters coming out his freaking fingers. And she must have used some sort of Time Lord TARDIS technology, or she borrowed off some visiting doctor bloke, cause he's built with more useless tat than your dad's junk drawer. So naturally, he becomes so lost and confused that he ends up jumping on top of his ginger crush, who's likely now rather regretting filling this guy with copious amounts of metal rods.
Matron.
Back at the baddie's lair, freaky fetishist Dr. Claw tries to reverse engineer the super tech from that robot foot thing what he stole the other night, but can't get it to work for love nor money, cause turns out it needs a special chip in order to amplify one's brainwaves to telepathically work the machinery. Or some shit. And Johnny Boy also just can't believe he's being kept alive by a tiny computer chip and is now entirely dependent on a small piece of plastic just to function. But luckily, she soon distracts him by bending over and flaunting a tired little tushy, and then showing him his new fancy clobber and saying he's now been accepted into the police force and instantly promoted to the rank of inspector, despite doing fuck all to earn it but getting himself deaded.
Nice.
Apparently, in order to access all his fancy new tech inside his blood, bones and entire general body, he has to say go gadget before he can summon his superpowers of random contraptions where they stuffed inside his every orifice like a fucking birthday piñata. And in the interest of health and safety, she suggests first doing some practicing in an empty park. And in a shocking twist, what no one could ever see coming, this constant fuck-up who couldn't even secure a simple parking lot without leading to the destruction of a high-tech lab and the death of a genius scientist daddy, instantly fucks up by covering her and the local greenery in Colgate toothpaste. And after fucking up yet again when a yogi tries to get him to concentrate but just ends up getting a handjob for his troubles but not in a good way, she just rewards him by giving him a new set of wheels, what's also full of gadgets and also a super annoying AI.
I work alone.
So, metallic Caucasian Robocop, and no, not that metallic Caucasian Robocop, takes his new Gadgetmobile on a joyride around town, where he naturally proceeds to fuck up also yet again by gormlessly assisting two escaped cons in a carjacking. But luckily, he activates his Go-Go Gadget pogo legs and accidentally saves the day, mainly by clotheslining the baddie with a grappling hook after falling into concrete, because again, comedy bro. Elsewhere, we learn that Sanford Skolex, aka that naughty claw fella, was once the world's youngest billionaire and also an utter porker. And he just can't believe that dopey fuck-up of a security guard what he blew to Kingdom Come the other night is not only still alive but now also a bona fide police inspector because reasons. Anyway, that evening, said inspector fella what fucking loves a gadget attends a charity ball with his ginger floozy, but is promptly undermined by his arch-rival Sanford Claw, who soon invites his old school friend Brenda to come work for him now her lab is completely trashed and a prototype foot thing stolen and shit. Now relegated to menial tasks, given he's a total fuck-up or keeps face-planting concrete and also assisting in straight-up felonies, John decides to do some investigations of his own to find out who stole Brenda's research and also rudely killed her daddy that one time. Whilst a little later, back at the lair, Dr. Claw has used Brenda's research to make another one of them chip things, given she now works at his gaff, and instantly makes a phony fakey Robocop of his own.
No way!
Yes way. And you can tell he's evil because he's clearly gone over to Turkey to get some ludicrously over-the-top veneers, just like all them Essex birds do.
Oh, good lord!
Anyway, said phony fakey Robocop, and no, not that one, nor even that one, soon sets about causing trouble and terrorising the neighbourhood. And after linking some evidence he found back to Skolex Industries and only now realising that the antisocial bloke with a claw for a hand might in fact be a bit of a wrong'un, he grapples up to Brenda's office to totally warn the transhumanist bird what loves carving up innocent injured men without their consent all about the danger she's in. But before she can get the heck out of Dodge, she runs into a robotic doppelganger of her own, who looks almost identical but is about 10 times more annoying. Brenda then heads up to the roof to try and meet up with Specky Gizmo, though he's too busy getting himself captured whilst failing miserably once again to recapture the foot thing. And after learning that her new boss has only hired her to steal her lifelong research and also probably killed her dead daddy, she storms off to smack her bitch up, whilst her robot duplicate accidentally backflips off a 30-story roof because both reasons and comedy, bro. Now in the evil claw of the evil claw, the inspector of the gadgets is strapped down to a table and literally stripped topless, whilst his toothy replacement continues to wreak havoc above and ruin his reputation. Or maybe actually improve it, given his recent track record, before getting his power source computer chip removed and promptly rendered deaded for a second time in weeks. Meanwhile, Evil Gadget then goes full Antifa by smashing up his own city and then attacking the local police station. He then does some rather cruel shadow puppetry while simultaneously engaging in a bit of casual cultural appropriation by pretending to be that monster fella from Japanese cinema, and soon terrorising the local townsfolk and also a visiting Asian man by giving us a sight of Matthew Broderick in a piss-poor homage to Godzilla. And before you can say, for the love of God wasn't once enough, the artificially intelligent yet cringe-inducing Gadgetmobile promptly tracks the real useless Gadget fella back to the local dump, where the sweet kiss of a ginger floozy magically brings him back to life somehow, and he now doesn't need the chip to live at all, also somehow. And before he can say, Go-Go Gadget raging lob on deflator, we cut to the next morning, as Brenda chases after that claw fella with the aid of their supercar and its super annoying AI, whilst the newly renewed Gadget soon faces off with his naughty double who's stolen his own face, and is soon so successful in his battle that he ends up receiving head with his trousers around his ankles. Oh, some shit. Meanwhile, his beloved redhead chases down her own boss. But because she's a woman and thereby can't drive for toffee, Brenda just ends up trashing a self-driving car, and promptly gets taken away by her old fat friend, who finally gets to use his claw for once in this fucking film. Now utilising a giant helicopter apparatus, what has just popped out of his small fedora, he flies over to Skolex Industries to go save his Ginger Bay, and promptly tries to arrest that naughty claw fella mid-escape. But unfortunately, he just gets his aerial headgear blown off and then gets stuck on the chopper's skids. No! But he soon redeems himself by remembering the sage advice what he got from that Indian yogi bloke whose balls he crushed that one time, and promptly uses his newfound focus to summon the most appropriate gadget, and will accidentally totally freeze Brenda from Claw's claw, and allowing her to smack him up like a little bitch, before getting him right in the feels by saying she actually preferred him when he was fat.
Damn!
Now with the chopper controls smashed up real good and proper, said Brenda Bird hops on top of her Swiss Army boyfriend and soon makes his dreams come true by finally riding him, though not in a fun way. And after once again accidentally summoning some more headgear, and just in the nick of time to avoid his third death in a week, they proceed to profess their love for each other in a small pool. And before she can say, Go-Go Gadget panty dryer, the dastardly and ultra-cunning Dr. Claw hilariously lands slap bang in the Gadgetmobile, who promptly cages the naughty foot freak once and for all. Now having won the respect of the local police chief and also the mayor, after Penny shows everyone how her uncle is actually a hero rather than a constant fuck-up or keeps destroying public property and endangering citizens' lives, we end with Dr. Claw swearing bloody revenge on his gadgety foe, whilst Brenda and Gizmo finally snog on a small porch, and he finally gets to be with a real woman instead of a hairy mongrel for once. And that's it. That's the movie. Though my favourite part was realising how properly 90s this movie was. Because this was back in an era where Michelle Trachtenberg was everywhere, actors could still get work despite having straight up killed two fuckers 12 years earlier, and DEI diversity quotas were clearly unheard of, given this movie was whiter than Sean King's childhood photos. Honestly, you know it's based in a fictional 90s cartoon reality when even the carjackers in an urban city are Caucasian. But having said that, I suppose the movie was ahead of its time in some ways, because it totally exemplified how people keep failing upward in modern times. Like getting to become a high-tech Robocop with the incredible privilege of being responsible for controlling a plethora of deadly and expensive gadgets, despite the only thing he did to earn it was failing to catch a criminal and getting himself blown to the brink of death. And also when he then got gifted a fancy new car, after failing to control his new gizmos, spraying his mentor with toothpaste gunge, and also committing a flat-out hate crime by literally bollocking a brown yogi fella.
Oh, that's gotta hurt!
But anyway, that's the plot and that's your lot. Considering that mail thing, so you don't miss any future recaps. Tell me if you like this flick in the comments, if you have time, and I'll in the next one.